18 months to 2 years. And we were so lucky to be able to partner with the Elgin Public Museum. Sherry's here. And Judy, our the president, is here. Is she still here? Oh, she had to go. Okay. And then also Friends of the Fox River. So Luann is here, and Gary, and other board members from Friends of the Fox, I think. Carrie. Yes. So that is our, the three of us put together this kind of concept and work together on it. And I hope that we can spend a lot of time in the next 18 months having programs that talk about the different aspects of the exhibit topics. Because that, the boards that we have in there are very, simple, just for somebody who's reading for 5 minutes. And we want to have more in-depth discussion on all the different aspects of the river. Okay, so we do want to thank Rudy, Emily, and Galfie for their support. Also, Dennis and Sandy McClure, particularly Dennis, who did the carpentry on the outhouse, and then donated it. So that was nice. And then our worker bees, Al Walters, Ira Marcus, Bill Briska, Doug Tomsha, David Siegenthaler, and Chris Shreve all helped put that together. Our designer was Karen Torhorst of Torhorst Design, and she worked on it for months trying to get we had to get all the pictures, and the people that got it ready for Karen was Beth, our curator, wave Beth Nawara, Rebecca Miller, and Trish is right here. She's taking the floors right here. And then myself. We put together all of the pictures first the content was written by David Siegenthaler, so that's first. And he's an excellent researcher, historical researcher for Elgin's history. And then we were able to get photos, we put together the objects, all that. It just takes months. You wouldn't think it would be that hard, but it takes months. So I want to say thank you to all of you for helping. Thanks for you being here. And we're going to introduce Gary Zwick, and he's going to talk a little bit about the river and get his viewpoint in real quick before you see the exhibit to try to change your mind. Okay.
Change anybody's mind. Your opinion, that's kind of the theme, like it's up to you to believe whatever it is you want to believe. Okay? But thank you for everybody that's involved in this great museum. And that exhibit is very exciting for so much in that small little place. And history has a really important place in my life. I wasn't very good academically, and I was able to turn my career in college around on the history of Wisconsin when I took that class, and it helped me understand that.
Is your mic on?
I don't know.
I mean, I know you can hear, but
Hello. Hello. There we go. So what I finally realized was that for me, the best way to learn was to learn the story and then just tell that story to other people. And I went from academic probation to graduating with honors, thanks to history. All right, so I'm offering that history is very important. One, so we can appreciate where we are and we can learn from that. But we are history. We are living history, and we are making history all the time, right? And part of that is going to be restoring some things that we thought were important. So first, I'd like to help you understand how incredible the Fox River is. It's not just a river. It's really special. So the darker gray area is where the last glacier went through. And if you can visualize a mile high of ice, that's what people say, acted as a bulldozer, and it carved out the landscape, and it ran in this direction. And so it brought material from way up there, but what's really important is where it stopped. Because imagine making a snowman. you're rolling something from one place to another, it's getting bigger, right? But it's picking up debris along the way. And wherever it melts, that's where the debris goes. So as it melted, it dropped things out and it made really interesting land features. Big, like hills, moraines, canes, like just mounds that were there. And that's important because those features are very unique. And add that to how unique Illinois is, maybe I should go back a slide. A biome is a large geographical area with kind of common environmental conditions. So there they are. Illinois is in the middle of that. So we have a little tundra, we have a little desert, and that means we have plants and animals that are unique to those biomes. So we have all these things coming together. We're the merge between the tall grass prairie and the woodlands. So it's just a unique area, and what we have then is an incredible diversity. Illinois has 53,000 plants and animals, and a majority of those are in northeastern Illinois. And so that makes Illinois 20th in diversity, but northeastern Illinois is very diverse and unique. So what this is showing, sorry for words, especially if you can't read them, but this has to do with habitats that are in Illinois, and we're the prairie state, but what I'm showing is all the gravel hill prairies in Illinois, 86% are in this watershed here. There's not that many trees, actually, because, well, Kane County, 30% was a wetland before people settled here. So it was maybe mainly these kind of habitats, and don't worry about what they are, but the percentages, well, you can if you want to, but the percentages are the important thing. Fens are highly unique, and we have 90% of all the fens in this watershed in the entire state. 100% of the bogs, that's the northern coniferous biome, and 100% of the lakes that aren't degraded. And that's thanks to the glaciers with ice cubes 100 times the size of this building that got left behind when everything else melted. And the weight of that made depressions into the ground, maybe visualize the moon and craters. And so that's what gave us our deep lakes. Rather, everything else is very, very shallow along the way. So, if you build it, they will come. And so we have this diversity of animal life here, every kind, and this is Dundee. Like, this is not northern Wisconsin. So we have an incredible fishery, 98 species of fish historically, and we still have 76, I think. And they're not just all biggies. These are little ones, and they maybe get that big in maturity. And if I didn't clue you in that this was the Fox River, you might think that this was in the Caribbean somewhere, right? With that rainbow darter, and the mottled sculpin is unique to the Fox River. So raise your hand if you're buying that the Fox River is incredible. Thank you, thank you. American eel, get out of here. Yes. And the most important, the freshwater mussel. And that's why I passed around freshwater mussel shells. Some of you thought like it was hot potato, maybe, but I just wanted you to be able to get a feel for it, because for most people, they have no idea that we have freshwater mussels in the Fox River. And we do in some places.
Edible?
They are, but most of who's got the shell with holes in it? Okay, they were used mainly for buttons, and part of it was because the inside is so beautiful, but it was hard before we had plastic, and that ended in 1940 when Better Living Through Chemistry began. And but most of the meat just went into animal feed. It's not really like the oyster stuff. But the pearl industry, even in the 60s, was a $2 million industry. And mainly coming out of the Mississippi. The Mississippi, the Illinois, and the Fox River are especially great mussel fisheries. Okay, then people came. But we had people here for 10,000 years. And the river provided an incredible, naturally rich resource. Everything that those populations needed, they could get from this area. And then it was also like French fur traders were here, and they used the rivers as travel routes. And even in like 1800, there are hardly any roads anywhere in Illinois. And then we'll go light on the history of Europeans coming and then not getting along really well with Native peoples and the Black Hawk War. And so let's go to happier times. So our own James Gifford, I'll let you read that for yourself. Can you guys read that in the back so I don't have to? Thank you. All right. People have traveled all over the country, and many of them were saying this is the most incredible river they have ever seen. The most beautiful river they had ever seen. That's a little harder to read, but the point is, by 1914 we had made it a sewer. It didn't even take us 100 years, and there's a photo in there that shows Elgin, and I think in the diorama, Doreen pointed out, there's more outhouses than homes. And the outhouses were at the end of the pier. Thank you very much, Fox River, for taking it to St. Charles, right? It's a perfect design wastewater treatment plant, right? For some. So, like, the state intervened, and we were drinking the water at the time. Like, you gotta stop that. Like, people are gonna die from that. So then we went to wells, and we came back in the mid-70s, back to drink the river. And by the way, if you're getting really proud of living here, one thing I really like to share is that the river runs through me. I turn on my tap.
Yeah.
Let's just say I used a washing machine, right? It's in, it's out. And that's how nature is, right? Okay, so time goes on. We did all this polluting. The Fox, the legend, came in, made people aware. The Clean Water Act in 1970 put some rules down, put some money down, and we started cleaning things up. We started really good municipal wastewater treatment. We stopped open industrial dumping, and we love to, point fingers at other people, and that's over. It's really our land management right now. But some of us were not happy with how slow things were going with river protection and restoration. So there's this group, American Rivers, and every year they put out a list, 10 most endangered rivers in America. So we applied. Can you pick us? And we got number 7 in the country. Yeah. Good news, bad news. Bad news is people that didn't understand were like, I knew it was a skanky river. That's never going to be clean. That river's crap. All right, but that's not the story. It's a beautiful river. Like, do people say that about the bald eagle? Oh, that ugly bald thing. It's old, just go die. No, it's a beautiful bird, right? When that became endangered, like, this is a big deal, right? That's our national symbol. That's our river. So what happened here was the US EPA read the newspaper, like, Illinois, Fox River, 7th most endangered, and they asked the IEPA, the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, what's going on over there? You said everything's cool. Well, it's not. And so, if I'm the whole watershed, 200 miles, there were 3 places that were categorized as impaired waters. Now, it's the whole run of the river. it's a good thing, because when you're in impaired water, legally, there has to be a plan to fix it. And there's money attached to that. And that was the birth of the Fox River Study Group, who's been studying it. They're the science authority right now, and they have a plan. And hundreds of millions of dollars in this watershed have been put in, wonder why your water bill is so high? Have been put into protecting against phosphorus. And it's not to just fix our phosphorus up, it's to help the Gulf of Mexico. So that's why the federal government's involved. They're protecting the Mississippi. We run into the Illinois River, so Tyler Creek is important to that whole big picture. So these are the reasons. You don't see wastewater treatment, industrial pollution here, litter. What you see, what I'm sharing, and this comes right off the impaired waters, habitat alteration, and as Liz was talking about, we've dammed it, we've diverted it, we've drained it, we've dumped in it, we've disrespected it, and we've changed it, but there's a reason why we changed it, and that goes with flow. So, I'll get to that reason in just a moment, and I know that's really hard to read, but the point is, this was a survey in people in the Fox River watershed. It was just 3 years ago, I think. The point is, half the people think the Fox River is very polluted. That's a problem when you want somebody to care about something. If they don't value it, if they think it's a goner, they'll give up on it. And these are misinformed people. They don't know, and that's part of my thing now, is who's telling the story of the Fox River. I can tell you some history, but I can tell you since 1970, the trend, the trend has been consistent improvement in almost all water quality parameters. But we have one big problem to deal with to improve that. And that is, to restore the river, we're going to have to remove dams. And I don't think I've ever run into anything until lately that is so emotional with people. And we're voting out there. And most people are going to vote, I'm going to guess, by emotion. And so I just want to do a survey right now. No one's judging. We are filming. But just to see where you are, I'm asking you to vote one time, just to get like a survey, okay? How many people say, no way, the dam is not going to go? Let's just pick on ours, Elgin. That's it? All right, I'm done. All right, how about, it's a bad idea, because I have heard, we could be generating electricity in the town, and we're not going to get drinking water out of the river if that dam goes. Okay, I'm just going to jump ahead. How many people are ready to just take it out tomorrow? Woo! Okay, well, all right, so this is what I alluded to. What's really important is where do we base, how do we formulate our opinions? Where do we get our information right now? And it's harder than ever, right, to get clean information. So I think we look at what we've learned already. Maybe we go to science, whatever that means. We look at research and the data that's generated and the interpretation of that. And then we figure out how we feel about all that. What's really important to us, right? Like when you're voting for a candidate, you usually pick one top issue for that person, right? You don't go 13 deep on that. So that's what I wanted to share with you, is to help you with your opinions. So since a lot of you are there, I'm still offering this to you because you are so important to help share good information. Because if 46% think it's a nasty river, we have a problem with that. So there's a study, and there's an executive summary for you. It was 88 pages, it's down to 2, just for you, with important things bolded on there. So you can help yourself to that. And it was done right here. And they looked at, this is how they judged things. The fish species that were there, macroinvertebrates are the fish food, like dragonfly larvae, midges, little bitty things that live in there. Water quality would be like phosphorus, dissolved oxygen, and then aquatic habitat. And so that would be things like deep pools or places where the surface of the water is broken because it's really shallow and the rocks are impacting that. Trees that are down and providing habitat for hiding and things clinging on them. So basically what they found completely consistently for all 15 dams, above the dam, like the view from Gale Borden Library, got a D. Like a grade, not good, poor. Above the dams, below the dams, back, rewind. Below the dams, like Walton Island, got a B. And that B went all the way to the next dam pool. And I might use the word impoundment, that means dam pool. The water's like stuck there. So, pretty simple, right? The dam is creating a problem based on these parameters. So, what was their recommendation? Reconnect the river. Like, let's get rid of the impoundments. And so to do that, we have to remove the dam. And I wish we didn't have to say that word because that's what gets to people. Because I think when you say dam removal, it's, okay, here go your memories of fishing with grandpa. Here go your memories of your parents told you don't go in the river, but you walked across the top of the dam, right? And so people, I think, feel a loss when we're talking about dam removal. It's been there for everybody's full life that's in this room. And for those of us my age, like we grew up in a time where you were loyal. Like the same guys were on the Cubs all the time, right? They didn't like move in the middle of the season, right? Certainly they didn't go to another town. Your team didn't go to another town, right? So things were like more static for us. So this is hard, and I think when we're asking people about this issue, one of the hardest things is that something's going to change. But if somebody, we sell products all the time. You want to look 10 years younger? Like, hell yeah, right? Sometimes change is good. Not that looking young is good. I don't know I picked that one. You're being healthier, right? Okay, we're going to improve your vision or whatever. Okay, so, moving along. All right, so there is a study that's just being completed right now, and it's the federal government, the Army Corps of Engineers, and they've been running this study for going on 8 years, and maybe you heard Dick Durbin came to town right here at Walton Island with a check for $250,000 to finish the study. And they're gonna tell their story in March. It'll be leaked out, what they found. And what it's about is ecosystem restoration. You do not see dam removal in that study at all. But in fine print, what that really means is dam removal. But it's for the purpose of restoring the ecosystem. And I'm not saying going back 12,000 years when it melted, just like before the Europeans changed it like you'll see in that room. We came here and we settled in Elgin because we had a river. It was because it provided power. Every town throughout this valley settled because they could use that river, not just for sewage, but for the power to grind the grain and to cut the lumber. And in the case for ours, make ice, because we didn't have refrigeration at that time. How did that help our dairy industry? We could refrigerate things, right, to move them out. So we don't need the dam for that anymore, and now it's crystal clear, it's getting a D, so if we want to get back to a B, that's what it takes. Now, the great news is, they're going to come to the community and they're going to ask us, and the city of Elgin invested $35 to hire an engineering firm to help figure out, like, what is that going to mean for us? Are we really not going to have drinking water? And those concerns will be shared with the Army Corps of Engineers, and this is the best I know, all right? You're just getting my opinion about how it's going to roll out. I'm not going to be in the room making those deals, but the Army Corps is going to recommend that we restore the habitat from Gale Borden up to Slade Avenue by removing the dam, and if they got to put in the deal how we're going to plant after the water recedes a little bit, what we're going to do with Kimball Street Bridge, do we have to do something with the intake, which, by the way, to clear that up, they made an impoundment, they made a backwater to be able to have the intake. It already needed something new before dam removal was even considered. So it's engineering that needs to take place with that. And we don't know the real numbers with this. But here's the biggie. Everybody else in America wants to help us pay for it. And the word is 65% is going to come from the federal government. And 35% has to come from somewhere. And the Illinois DNR has funds to remove dams. Carpentersville's coming out. Your Kane County tax money is not paying for that. The state of Illinois is. So thank all your brothers and sisters in Cook County and downstate. Carpentersville's coming out. All right? So, so there are some myths, and if I'll take questions. So I won't even go through these myths. You can ask about them. But we're voting out there, like, take it out and leave it. And we had a lot of discussion about that. And I think that all the reasons why to keep it, this is my opinion, are not accurate. But when we talked about it, Liz says, this is what people think. And so I thought, well, then it's fair to put that in there, because that's what people think. I worry that it's perpetuating misinformation, but I got a team here, right? We're going to talk to people about it. So it's not about being fearful, and I think you've gotten over that. This is the question, what's it going to look like? What you can say in Elgin is stand at Walton Island and look at what it looks like. Guys are standing in the river this deep fishing, right? That's what it's going to be like by Gale Borden. But we don't know until we understand where the bottom is, because it's not going to go below bedrock, and it's going to make islands along the way. So all that has to come from the bottomscape, but one person, Art Holm, on our board, has done a lot of work looking, and excuse me, you can see those diagrams in 3D, what the bottom looks like with that. So just a couple more examples. The Hoffman Dam in Riverside. This Plains River is similar to the Fox River. That looks like most of our dams. That looks like Walton Island before the last couple rains, right? There was a gravel bar right there. That's what it looked like a couple years later. So it's not mud flats. It's a blank palette for however we want it to look. And the DNR would like to see native vegetation. They don't blow it up like a Roadrunner cartoon. It takes time, so you maybe can't read that. The top is June 19th, and the bottom is July 17th, so a month to chip away at it. So it's not going to be a torrent. We're not going to have all this wildlife cruising down. And then at the Hoffman, they made some wings with it. So that's upstream. So there's before and after. It's just revisioning. So the ones that really can tell the story from science, because we can make up facts all over the place. There have been a bunch of dam projects in northeastern Illinois, and we have removals right here in our watershed, but this is the result of that. When you take a dam out, and they looked at 5 dams, when you take a dam out, the total fish diversity increases. And I heard a story today when they took the Hoffman Dam out, that the day that they made a break in it, fish started going upstream. And I'll give you an example. There's a fish ladder in Yorkville. That was our first mistake of not taking a dam out and modifying a dam. There's a fish ladder, and the DNR study the fish. They go right up that ladder, like, yeah, more food. And as soon as they get there, they're like, it's a dig. This place is terrible. And they come right back. There's data for that. And here's the total number of fish. So when people say you're gonna wreck fishing, I don't really get that. If there's more kinds of fish, and there's a lot more of them. We hear it like, the eagles aren't coming back to Gale Borden. Like, wait, they didn't come when we built the dam. They've been here. And they want to catch fish. If you have more, there's more food there. And that's my summation. Here's in Leroy Oaks Forest Preserve on Fearsome Creek. That's before, that's after. This fish data like blew the scientists away. This is before they removed the dam. None of these, and these are some of the little fish that I showed you, they were non-existent there. After they removed the dam, they immediately repopulated there. So the fish don't lie. There's the data right there. Sorry, wrong way. Okay, but the important ones, I think, are the freshwater mussels. And freshwater mussels are mussels are found throughout the world, but freshwater mussels are very special. And this is what they look like when they're together. And they like to burrow down like that, so they need a rocky bottom. So mucky bottom above the dam, they're not going to be living in there. And they're filter feeders. So they open up a little bit, and they let the water go through, and they get food like that. But, you know, they want to repopulate, and it's pretty hard for something that can't walk, can't swim, can't fly, can't slither. How are they going to find a dance partner? And it's pretty amazing how they do it, and you're above 8th grade, so I can tell you, the males just let the sperm fly. That'll keep a kid out of the river, right? And then the females catch it. Their egg gets fertilized. They make a larva, and then they stick an appendage out, and they lure fish in. And when fish come close, the female shoots the larva into the gill of an unsuspecting fish, and that fish carries it away. But if that fish runs into a dam, there's a limit where the mussels can repopulate. But even if they went above the dam, it wouldn't be suitable habitat. So how we saw fish repopulate, we can expect this out of mussels. And we're not eating them, we're not making buttons anymore, but they provide an incredible ecosystem service, and that's water clarity. And so what you're seeing here is the left side is musselless, the right side has mussels, and over a short period of time without Photoshop, which is probably made in the 70s, you can see that the water's clearing up. So we can expect increased water clarity because we're restoring an ecosystem. Some people are talking about there's so many weeds in the water. In my opinion, those plants are surviving in the water because it's finally clean enough and clear enough. Okay, I'm almost done. So I was going to resurvey you, but I'm not gonna because I'm feeling really good about how it was. So that's the story. Do we have any time for questions?
Yes.
So, the river's cleaner than it's ever been.
No.
Well,
It's cleaner than it's ever been with,
since Nixon.
Europeans here.
All right, so the river's getting cleaner, but what's the biggest threat to the river today?
Misinformation. It's a polluted river, the dams are important, and if we take the dams out, bad things are gonna happen. I can go deeper. Go ahead.
DuPage County has had a lot of success with scientific studies and the things that you're talking about. And wherever they've taken out dams, they've seen the same results as this.
Yeah.
So it's happening all over. I mean,
Well, yeah, that's it. Somehow we think we're so special. I think 300 dams were removed in America last year.
Do we know, like, the life cycle left in the dam? I came from a town in Wisconsin, coincidentally also founded by James Gifford, where we had 2 dams. One they took out right away because it was going downhill quickly, and then there was another smaller dam upriver where they had to apply for federal funding. It was $2 million to fix the dam. The government would have spent $6 million to take it out, and they voted not to do it. Because for all the reasons you said, it was sentimental, it was a lot narrower but taller, it was really pretty. So do we know kind of roughly how much time we have left before the decision might be obvious?
Somebody does, but Gary does not.
Okay.
But it's similar like Kimball Street Bridge has to be repaired because they expect it has a certain life. It's concrete, right? That's there, and most of the dams now are concrete. So I don't know, but I'm guessing they're all like coming of age, and we do not want them to come out by themselves. And if you go to Batavia, that's what we're seeing in Batavia. It's, you know, the river's taking it apart at that point. But you're right, a lot of times it's cheaper to repair it than take it out. But part of our problem is our really short-term thinking and you know, looking for generations ahead. But just the value of what we're going to have. Some of us were at a meeting today about the fabulous Foxware River Water Trail. Like, commerce people are just licking their chops for when people can kayak and canoe the length of this river. Like, look what we've done in this town. The outhouses used to face the river and the backs of our buildings, and now we got a river walk. We got the festival right on the river. We've learned to face the river, and it has value to us. So that I would just throw that in, like, maybe the time doesn't matter. The time has come to think about the future and be our legacy. Like, I'm so tired of apologizing to young people about being drunk on oil and like losing our values, right? So, okay, sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. Can you address the concern some people have about flood control?
Yeah,
when it rains and-
none of the dams,
Okay.
with the exception of the Stratton Dam was not built for flood control. It was built to turn a wetland into a boating recreation area, but none of the dams were built to control flooding. And in fact, they contribute more to flooding because they're holding water back that's more spread out,
Right.
that doesn't have the room to spread out. If the river shrinks 30%, then when it swells, it's going to be able to have some buffer room, kind of. So that's a big one, is we're going to have too much water or not enough. From the top to the bottom is a 7-day ride, pretty much. Ira?
Can you comment a little bit about how removal of a dam would change the freeze-thaw cycles in the river, and especially in that the dams seem to be a place where the rivers don't tend to freeze, and that attracts a lot of birds that are feeding on, you know, from the river where they get through the ice. So will there be more or less freezing from frozen over places?
Yeah, that I don't know. I can suppose some things, like you're saying, running water is harder to freeze. But there's so much history of people ice skating, like long ago. But the river's different. Like half of what's in the river, some in low water in the summer, went through a wastewater treatment plant, and it's a little warm when it's going in there. And that maybe that's part of the problem why things are not freezing in the winter like they used to. But I would imagine much more open water in the wintertime.
So you think it might freeze less than?
Yeah, but just in my short time around here, it seems like it's freezing less than in the past. Go ahead.
How long does it take for the sediment behind the dam?
I'm glad you missed that. All right, you can give me that $1 back now. All right, this is my sedimentation tube. I was prepared for that. So, I have more. Switching around to be geographically correct. No. This is Gale Borden Library. This is Walton Island. And this is settled. Okay? So wait, what did you ask me? Oh yeah, the sediment. Okay, so clearly, this one does not have much sediment. This one has a lot of sediment. You can see the black stuff in there, right? So both of them are sitting on top of rocks. And so if we imagine this as the river, the big rocks are heavier. They're on the bottom. The medium rocks, the tiny rocks, and then the silt, the smallest, and then water that's transporting. Okay? If I left this long enough, it would be clear. So it's a matter of gravity pushing these things down, but the river's flowing, so a lot of things are set up. So if I just shake it up, here comes a big rainstorm, and it's going through the impoundment. Right away, the rocks settle out there. This is suspended, this is going downstream. So one slide I didn't show you had to do with PCBs, that we're worried, like if we drain that, this toxic legacy is gonna come. That toxic legacy went down like 5 months ago. Wait, not 5 months ago, like right after it got put in there. It's not building up. It's building up in places like above Tyler Creek where we're taking our water, or like in Batavia, Depot Pond, where the river's not scouring it out. It just keeps getting pushed in there. But in the main channel, it's gone. And then in here, in 2 places, you can read that in their core samples, no toxins in there, and the sediment goes right through. So when we have a major rain event, the silt goes downstream, but because we have a dam, more gets built up because it gets slowed down and drops out. But that's what rivers do. They scour, drop along the way. But when you have a dam, it's drop, 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 and then scour.
You know, I had a silt question, but I had something else. My wife and I have been here for over 30 years, and I finally, just a week ago, went and saw a section of the north where the toll road comes through. And the river, where the flowing, you can tell, but there's all these pockets along the shoreline that are filthy. I mean, just, if you're trying to prove it's not polluted, don't take them there because it's terrible. Pulling the dam out, does the flow then go shore to shore, or is it still going to be down in the middle of the river, and these pockets are still going to be tough to clean?
All right, it's gonna depend on the bottom of the river and where it wants to go, but generally speaking, those areas will not be, only in flood time, will be covered, and they can be vegetated. And so my colleague, how he describes the river is it's a clean river with a dirty bottom. So what you're seeing there is that sediment being deposited, and then it dries up, and it's just a mucky mess. If you go into the channel, it's rocky. That's there. And so generally that we would work on vegetating that in those areas. And there still will be backwaters depending on the topography. That's there, but less. It will be a stream, and it will be finding its way, and what gets exposed, like you saw in the photos, will be rock that's exposed. Go ahead.
Who would be in charge of that revegetating? Would it be the Forest Reserve or the Park District or IDNR or Army Corps of Engineers or all of the above?
All right, so when they're asking for public comments on your concerns, it's very important to raise that. If I was the king of Elgin and I was making the deal with the Army Corps, I would be saying, river restoration is partially removing the dam, but restoring the ecosystem, and that's part of the ecosystem. So can you help us out with plant selection, planting, and a maintenance plan? Like, can you leave us $60,000 for the next 6 years to have somebody weed until it becomes healthy? So I think, that's gonna be part of the restoration plans. It's not like blow it up and move out. These guys they're serious about river restoration. Yes?
Is there like a 5-year plan for how many dams may be removed? You said there are 15. Are there any others slated to come out? And another quick question too is I've heard that there's only one river in our country that's not dammed, it's the Yellowstone. Is that true? Somebody Google.
Maybe. I'm trying to picture what the Yellowstone runs into, and if it runs into the Snake River, and the Snake River has a lot of dams eventually. But yeah, probably not the Yellowstone. But I don't know how far upstream it goes, so I'm not touching that one. But frankly, I never thought I would. Francis Fox has been working on dam removal for 30 years, and it's been like riding a tortoise. All of a sudden now, with the Army Corps, it's like on the rabbit. And the Forest Reserve stepped up. The DNR offered money, like, I don't know if you remember that slide of northeastern Illinois, how many dams came out? That's because the DNR had money and it was offering money to take the dams out. And pretty much in this watershed, we were like, yeah, I don't know, we like our dams. And Cook County and Lake County are like, hey, let's go, we get it. And they sucked up the money, and then we didn't have a budget anymore in the state of Illinois. That went away, but it's back. And so Carpentersville's coming out. I could not be more excited. That's my home dam. Like, that's where I taught school and had so many experiences, and I am so excited to see that look different, right? And I was sitting next to a guy from the Army Corps of Engineers at a conference in March, and he said, I pretty much think we can take 10 dams out in 10 years on the Fox River. Lotto. But
what will happen to recreational boating when the dams are gone?
like fishing?
No, power
Like
boats.
canoeing?
No,
like
canoeing,
Swick.
kayaking,
I know,
come on.
I'm trying to do a little Toro. All right, I'm really trying to come up with good positive messaging that will make people feel good about retiring their ski boat. And I have some plans for people to like, how we're gonna give you money to trailer it up to the chain of lakes. It's gonna,
So the answer is it's gone.
well, we don't know. Like, I don't know what dams are gonna come out and in what order. But in all fairness, if we return the river to its natural state, it will not be conducive for wakeboarding, right? And I'm really sorry for people that I truly am. Like, it's a multi-use river, but some things aren't appropriate in certain places anymore. So, like, where I used to ride a bicycle, like, I can't ride a bicycle there anymore because people are going 55 miles an hour on their cell phones. Like, came up today, we don't have triathlons around here anymore because the roads are too congested for people to safely bike. So I lost my bike route, so I have some empathy and I can connect with you on that. But we still have places where lake boats are appropriate. But I'm sorry to say, we're gonna lose.
Yeah.
Some people are gonna lose that.
Take them to the golf.
But we have to be, these are our brothers and sisters, right? We have to be sensitive to that.
Well, I don't bring it up as a boat owner because I couldn't care less, but I know there'll be a certain part of the population that will be concerned about it.
Right, we have to address that, and it's a small population. There's 1 million people that live in this watershed, and I don't know how many people have riverfront property with a boat, but, go ahead.
Would it matter which dam goes first? If they did 10, would it be more important to do the one at the bottom first?
No, and I don't think so. Let me try that one. I think some of it has to do with image and how it turns out and who you have to fight with to do it. More than half the dams are owned by the state of Illinois. So I don't think people are gonna be voting on this. In some towns, Elgin owns their dam, Batavia owns their dam, but St. Charles is gonna be a very hot contention, but St. Charles does not own their dam. They gave it up several years ago.
But Batavia, they've been talking about this for 30 years.
I know, me too. But in Batavia, they are embracing it. Like, they put something out to the public. I'm not so good at couple years ago. Like, we got 5 plans, and this one's gonna cost this much. This one's gonna address this and cost this much. And they let the people vote. It wasn't like if most people vote for 3, we're doing 3. It was just showing people that there are options with that. But the Army Corps is gonna be the one that really has the information about what you can do with that. And they're paying a bulk of the price. But to your question, taking out 1 dam will help 1/10. Taking out 2 will help 20%. If we take out 10, it's gonna be a much healthier river. It's not stationary, it's running every day. It's a connected ecosystem.
Well, that's what I wondered, because if we take out Carpenterville and then Elgin, is Carpenterville gonna affect us?
Oh, no. When a dam comes out, it really only impacts the impoundment that's behind it. But now that you said that, like, if we want mussels to be going up, they have to have a place to go, right? So we maybe want to be I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that a little more before it goes in the paper.
Does Carpentersville own their dam?
No, King County does.
King County does.
And
What
so,
about Algonquin, the dam in Algonquin? Who owns the Algonquin?
I don't know, but I know how you could find out right now. If you go on your phone to the Fox River Study Group and go to dam removal and click Algonquin, in the top right corner, it will tell you the owner. And you can answer that question. Go ahead.
What's the difference in elevation from the Wisconsin border to the Illinois River?
It goes from 950 feet, not the Wisconsin border, from the there's 80 miles of the rivers in Wisconsin. From the top to the bottom, okay, is 500 feet, elevation change of 500 feet in a little over 235 or something like that. So if you do some simple math, it's like 2 feet per mile. Like, you can even get a marble to roll, right? It's flat. And in the chain of lakes, it's like 3/10 of a foot. And then in the, we call it the urban, like when people do that. The middle is called the urban corridor by some, and that's where the steepest grade is, and that's one reason people settled here, because the water was flowing faster. And then when you get down below Yorkville, it flattens out until it gets to the Dayton Dam.
I apologize for being late, maybe you mentioned it, but what is the impact going to be on the chain of lakes? So far as the dam removal, the fisheries, chain of lakes with the no wake, and then secondly, what is the dam removal going to do to the walleye spawning, the smallmouth or the walleyes spawning typically around that current below the dams? The fishery thing that is a magnet, every dam draws fishermen, so what's the impact on the fisheries?
So, yeah, you did miss a little bit of stuff, but I would just ask you, like, visualize people fishing.
I apologize.
No, it's cool, it's cool. Like, people don't learn the first time they hear stuff, like, you're helping out. So, no, it's not. No, it's not. So, when you see people fishing right downtown, are they behind the Borden Library or by Walton Island? They're below the dam, where the water's going fast. So taking the dam out will make more faster water. So the data that you missed is when you take a dam, it's cool. When you take a dam out, above the dam, the number of fish, I'm gonna get this backwards maybe. The number of fish and the diversity both increase. And I think it's the number of fish increases 6 times and the diversity 3 times. So it's gonna be way more fishing. And I've mentally arm wrestled with a fishing guy who goes above the Carpentersville Dam and will argue, you know, how many smallmouth bass that they're pulling out of there. But they're not spawning in the muck. They're spawning in places where it's a rocky bottom. So removing it increases the habitat that's there. It should be just, it's already great fishing in the Fox River, should be greater than that. We're gonna be turning them away. No, we're not. We're gonna be selling them stuff. I fished the Fox River t-shirts. Right? Anybody?
A
Yes?
fun question. So, what are the chances of the river otter making their way up to Elgin?
They are, the river otters are returning in some places, but they have to have suitable habitat too. And some of that is gonna be shoreline habitat, but we're really lucky. Kane County has been really aggressive at purchasing riverfront property for like 20 years. And there's like the stretch from Algonquin to Carpentersville, that's almost all forest preserve on both sides. So I would say great. That'll be fun. Until the fishermen are like, those damn river otters are eating our fish. Right?
How do the mussels do with the phosphorus problem and
So glad you asked that.
growth of the green stuff?
All right. So I was referring to how beautiful the inside of these shells are. And I don't know the whole story, and I don't want to fill it in with misinformation, but what I was told was that Fox River mussels were twice as valuable as mussels from other nearby rivers and maybe even in the southeast, because the sheen in here was so great, the whatever you would call that, iridescence that's in there was especially beautiful. And I've heard people speculate that it has to do with the mineral content that's in the water. Like, we have a phosphorus problem here, but we have a phosphorus problem because of the bedrock that we have. And it's just naturally occurring. In the soil we have, if you have native soil in your yard, you could sell it as phosphorus fertilizer. It's so high in phosphorus. You should think about that with your neighbors. Get lemonade. So did that answer it, kind of?
Well, I think what I'm looking for is people would like to see a clear river. You know, if you kayak or paddleboard on the river, it's green. Is it supposed to be green? I mean, there's phosphorus coming from human.
Okay, so it gets a little more complicated, right? When you start talking about an ecosystem, it's not just a predator and prey that's there. So when we have water clarity problems, part of it is suspended sediment that's there, and part of it is things are alive in the river. Some things that are alive are detrimental to the ecosystem, like filamentous algae, all right, and little like slimy green algae, and it's not a bad player, but it grows really fast, and then it doesn't live long. And in the circle of life, when you die, you get decomposed, and the decomposers are generally bacteria, and they're munching, they're just doing their job, but they breathe air, like us. And so as they're munching away, they're consuming a lot of oxygen. So here's what happens. You have high nutrient levels in the water, you get high growth of algae, high death of algae, high growth of bacteria, oxygen consumption. And also, some of that algae, even though they do photosynthesis in the day, they respirate at night, which takes oxygen out of the water. That's a lot, right? But clarity, it is sometimes associated with plant growth. And the plants are grabbing the suspended solids and holding them. I just talked to a guy the other day who was talking about, like, people are complaining, all these weeds in the water. And he goes, like, this is the greatest thing. The water is clear, that's why we have more plant growth. It's not invasive plants, it's native plants. And he picked a group up and he squeezed it and he got black that ran out. And he's showing they're holding the sediment, that's why it's clear with that. So it's biology, it's complicated. It's ecology, it's complicated. So sorry, that was a simple answer.
This is a history museum, so I've got a little historic factoid for you.
Cool.
Talking about the mussels, and I've seen photographs from 115 years ago or so of men harvesting the mussels in the Fox River for the button industry. It'd be fun to see that in the next 30 years with it.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Like, I've seen piles as high as the ceiling in here. But really, the two products were for buttons, and now we have plastic. I don't think, maybe high-end people will go back to mussels. Maybe there's a market there. And then the other thing was for growing pearls. And now we can do that artificially, like that. So I think their job is being super cool. And maybe they are also, in my opinion, the most endangered animal on the planet because they have very limited habitat. They can't move around much. More than half of them are on more than half the species in Illinois are not stable. They're on a decline. And we love saving pandas and tigers, right? Like, we could be saving mussels so easy. Don't have to donate anything. Go ahead.
Did you say pearls?
Yeah. Okay, I said something today that I was repeating somebody and I had to look it up because I said something that a lot of people latched on to and I was afraid they were going to be telling other people. So, a historian that I highly respect, and because you are history people, here's a gift for y'all to take home today. This is the history of the Carpenter's Mill Dam. You may be interested in. And he said the largest pearl was found in the Fox River. And I said that today, and then I'm like, they're like, in the world? Like, yeah. Well, I don't. Then I started researching it. So what I will say now is the largest pearl found by 1914 was found in the Fox River.
Freshwater.
Freshwater. Thank you. Thank you. See? Thank you. Who said, what's the number one problem? Misinformation. Right. So, okay. Well, thank you a lot. I forgot. So as an honorarium for speaking to you tonight, I waived that so I could do a commercial. So Friends of the Fox River wants to welcome in people to be Friends of the Fox River. And we don't charge you for that. We ask you to financially support us if you ever want to, but we welcome you in. And what we need this river needs friends. And people to understand it, cherish it, and take care of it. And so if you will just do that, and we have brochures for the organization.
They were down on the front table when you first came in, and they have information about where they meet and membership if you're interested, and then it gives you different volunteer interests that you can do as well.
Super. Sandy?
When's River Cleanup Day?
Thank you. I didn't have to use that as one of my questions. So, we have the biggest watershed event ever, and it's our Fox River Day. It's coming up in just a little over 2 weeks on September 17th, and you can go to our website and We have all kinds of things, mostly cleanups, but there's fun things like a flower blessing in Geneva and Tai Chi by the river and flow like a river yoga and music. In Algonquin, there's going to be a food truck and the Belvederes are playing. Oh yeah, at Buffalo Park. So the purpose of it is for us to connect as a watershed on this particular day. And there's some things going on. And if you go to our website, we have those things listed, or you can QR it. But if you go to our website for Fox River Day, you'll see a map listed all the things that are happening. You can click on them and register on there. And I have some business cards.
Gary, can I mention mine since I'm here? So Stand Up for the Fox, it's for paddle boarders only. Stand Up for the Fox, get it? So that's Saturday afternoon from Cornish to Carpentersville. September 17th for, it's our Fox River Day. I'm just doing one of the events, it's called Stand Up for the Fox. We're gonna paddleboard from Cornish Park in Algonquin down to the Carpentersville Dam.
Yeah, and so maybe I can just challenge the museum to do an event, and maybe what your event could be was just like feature your exhibit and welcome people to come in. And so if you register on the website, you could talk about your exhibit, and we're hoping more people will see it and more people will come and check it out. And the more people that know about it will care about it, right? So yeah, can you please register your event? Yes?
One more question. I noticed that the audience here is a rather mature audience. When you have your events like you have you been able to reach some of the younger kids, like high school kids?
No, I have to dress up like a screen, right? Like a monitor, right? Yeah, no, that's a really great observation, and all of us in all organizations are like, where are the young people, right? Like, what's going to happen? It's a thing. But Liz made an observation about people voting. That maturer people, if I can use that, I like to say elders, are mostly voting to keep the dam.
It's all the young people that voted to take it out.
Yeah. Because they might change, right?
But we had a lot of young people show up at the event the other day.
Uh-huh.
And I was surprised at how many young people came through.
Yeah, that was cool. That was hundreds of
You have
people.
a problem with understanding what you're voting for too, like the library.
Oh.
Did they vote to fund the library but not?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
That thing.
Yep. The teacher is very hard to be clear. It's all clear here.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. Appreciate your opportunity.